Undisputed.
Happy Monday, everybody. We are so glad you're with us. Welcome into Undisputed. I'm Jen Hale here with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning. Good morning.
All I know is we have a whole lot to talk about today, and I'm ready to get started.
And so am I. So am I.
That is an understatement, gentlemen, because we are kicking this morning off with breaking news. Deshaun Watson. We now know what his punishment will be. He is suspended for 6 games for violating the league's personal conduct policy, according to reports this morning. The Players Union, in a statement last night, made it clear that, yes, it will stand by Judge Robinson's ruling, no appeal. Shannon, what's your reaction to all of this?
Skip, you remember when we first started talking about this, we said it'd probably be somewhere between 6 to 8 games. I totally forgot that there was going to be an independent arbitrator because I just naturally assumed that it was going to go head straight to the commissioner. Something of this magnitude would go straight to the commissioner. And then when you started, we realized that Judge Sue Robinson would hear this case, and we started hearing the sheer volume and some of the testimony that was coming out of it. I was like, I don't know, Skip. It's going to be hard for him to judge to not get suspended for a year. And then the more things came out and the more you started hearing, you're like, it's kind of looking towards 6 to 8 games, maybe even as much as 12. But Skip, you knew something, the tide was shifting. The mere fact that the NFL took indefinite suspension off the table. They knew it wasn't heading in a direction that was favorable for them. So now let's see if we can save face and said, okay, Deshaun, would you be willing to do 12 games? Well, Deshaun's like, I'm sitting pretty good right now. You already took indefinite suspension off the table, so why would I agree to 12 games? And then they talk about 12 games and $8 million, which would be an unprecedented fine for a player being suspended and being fined. So, Skip, I think what transpired is that when Judge Sue Robinson, and I think the thing that you have to understand about law, is that you can't be swayed by public opinion. You can't be, and I think Judge Sue Robinson sat down and looked at the facts. She's like, and I don't know if she looked, you and I did. She's like, hold on, 2 grand juries had an opportunity to look at this. And you hear all the time, they can indict a ham sandwich. Well, they had Deshaun Watson teed up twice. Grand jury says, no go. Judge Sue Robinson gets this case, looks at all the facts, here's all the testimony, and says, well, this is my recommendation. Now, I don't know what the commissioner is going to do because guess what, Skip? He does have an opportunity. If he wants to,
he does.
He can say, nah, Judge Sue, I don't really like what you did.
Yep.
Now it's back in, the ball's in my court. And I'm going to tee it up with something a little bit more severe. And this is why the PA and Deshaun's team was saying, look, we will stand by any decision that Judge Sue Robinson's render, will stand by it. We asked the NFL to do the same thing. Commissioner got these powers for a reason. Skip, you don't have power and not be willing to use those things. Now, we know commissioners sometimes can be heavy-handed. Remember, he was on to cover a new sheriff in town. Commissioner can be very, very heavy-handed. I'm a little surprised, Skip, that he got 6. I thought maybe 8 half the season. But this is Skip, the NFL doesn't care about winning or losing. The NFL cares about public perception. Public perception sways public dollars. The dollars, people showing up, advertising, that's what the NFL cares about. So I am a little surprised that he got 6 games. I thought it would be more towards 12. But I don't really know what else the NFL can do. 2 grand juries said no. A judge that actually sat on a bench, heard the evidence, and says, well, this is my recommendation. Now, the commissioner is the only serving commissioner that does not have a law degree, that he's not a lawyer. And I think the thing is that you and I, and sometimes when we sit here, Skip, you can get swayed by public perception, the outcry. But and I'm not saying judges don't get swayed by public perception, because I believe they do sometimes because they are human. But what you're supposed to do is supposed to take the emotion and the public out of it and says, okay, these are the facts that's been presented to me. Let me give my best. My judge hadn't what I went to school for. Let me see if I can get to the bottom of this and give out something that's harsh but fair. At the end of the day, that's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be harsh but fair. And I believe Sue Robinson did the best she possibly could to levy a punishment that was fair but harsh. Some people are not going to be pleased with this, Skip, because of the volume of women that was involved, and Deshaun Watson only got 6 games.
Which is why I am severely conflicted as you speak. We just heard this result. I'm pretty shocked by it because USA Today originally reported that the NFL was pushing for an indefinite suspension of no less than a year. No less than a year.
Right.
And I believe there will be equally heated and harsh backlash to this starting today. We live in a Me Too era, which has been a breakthrough era, and at least some wrongs have been righted, I believe. And because of this era that we live in, a lot of people will be outraged by this. Just to put it in perspective, I disqualify myself as a lifelong diehard Dallas Cowboy fan, but you remember a few years back, my man Ezekiel Elliott, and I'm not defending his behavior, but he got also 6 games. It was later in the year.
Yeah.
He was accused by only 1, and 2 different police departments found her not credible.
Yeah.
There was a woman, you remember, Kia Roberts, who found her not credible, who worked for the NFL, who no longer works
Found herself unemployed.
That is correct. And Jerry Jones reportedly at a league meeting approached Lisa Friel, who heads up this unit for the NFL that investigates these type of sexual crimes. And Jerry reportedly at the league meeting got in her face and said, Lisa, there's nothing there.
Right.
There's nothing there.
Right.
And they found 6 games there. So Deshaun just got...
No, they didn't. Commissioner did.
Okay, the commissioner did.
But Skip, he gets an out here, Skip. He gets an out. This is Sue Robinson. He gets to say...
This is a new day here.
What y'all want me to do? I turned it over to an independent arbitrator, and this is what she deemed.
He still has the right, as you point out,
Yes.
to appeal. And I believe ultimately he still has the biggest hammer here.
Yeah,
if he
of
really
course.
wanted to drop it, he could drop
Absolutely.
it. Is it possible they tack on another couple of games? It's possible. I also think, knowing the NFL the way I do, they will wait and watch and listen to as they floated the trial balloon out there this morning to see how severe the backlash is. And given that backlash, they have 3 days to appeal. So maybe tomorrow or the next day they decide or not decide to appeal. And I understand that a big part of the NFL right now wants this to go away because it's not good for business.
Correct.
As we approach the start of a football season. So I knew something was up yesterday when the NFLPA released a statement that shocked me because it said, first, we have fully cooperated with every NFL inquiry and provided the NFL with the most comprehensive set of information of any personal conduct policy investigation. And it goes on to say that the NFLPA and the NFL held a full and fair hearing, and that this former federal judge read thousands of pages of investigative documents, reviewed arguments from both sides impartially. And in the end, this statement says, this is why, regardless of her decision, Deshaun and the NFLPA will stand by her ruling, and we call on the NFL to do the same thing. It seems like they got wind of what her ruling was going to be.
Yes.
Okay, so it's a preemptive strike on their part to say, we're great with it.
Yeah.
We certainly won't appeal. And NFL, you better not appeal either. Will you stand firm the way we're standing firm?
Hell no. Roger Goodell like hell no.
Okay, hell no.
But Skip, I believe that you mentioned the Zeke situation, and this is why everybody always says we want an independent arbitrator. Skip, I can live with it because Commissioner Goodell has a dog in the fight.
Yep.
This independent lady has no dog in the fight.
No.
You and I both agreed to have, we both agreed to have our case settled by an independent arbitrator. It's not the commissioner. It's not somebody from my side. She's independent. There's no way in hell Zeke's getting 6 games if an independent judge, because the judge, he went before the judge and the judge threw it out. They appealed. And they said we got to go back to Article 46 because it said the commissioner has the right So it wasn't about Skip. It wasn't about the precedent of the law. It was about what Commissioner had through the CBA, which is Article 46, that says he could hear it and he could levy a suspension.
Yep. Okay, I got you. And yet, again, in an ESPN report of yesterday, my radar went up because it is saying that they had discussions over the last few days of settlement talk, and that the NFL was proposing a 12-game suspension, but Deshaun's group was saying, no, 6 to 8. We'll go 6 to 8.
Correct.
Well, if they're proposing 12, then that means that they know that Sue Robinson's going less,
yes,
right?
Yes.
So they want a little more than what she had already signaled that she was going to do.
And plus, in a normal trial, you always keep the ability to appeal open.
You do.
Who says, Skip, that you know what? Whatever the system decides, I'm willing to live with that. I'm willing to live with that verdict. Hell nah. She might do it about face, but like you said, they had to feel very, very good. First of all, they felt very good when the NFL approached them. Okay, well, can we let's try to work out a settlement?
Yep.
Nah, you had indefinite suspension with at least a year. Now you want to negotiate? So I'm feeling good, Skip, as you said, we talk about all the time. I feel I'm in the catbird seat. You come to me with a negotiation after talking about indefinite suspension, which is at least a year. I'm feeling pretty good about my chances with old Miss Sue Robinson.
Okay. Now, allow me to go pro-con on everything we've just heard and seen.
Yes.
Okay, to reiterate what you just said, 2 grand juries in the state of Texas took a hard look and said no charge.
Right.
And 25 women had civilly in civil suits accused Deshaun, and all but one of them has now settled with Deshaun.
Yes.
For what that's worth, but they 24 out of 25 have.
Yes.